All right. We've upgraded to Riverside. Working on an app right now. I'm feeling like real smooth. Things are gonna go smooth here. My reception's cool. My sound is all right. You feeling good about yours?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling good. I mean, my Yeti mic keeps disconnecting, but I think I
Okay.
sound good with the
It's working,
headphones, right?
man. It's
So,
working. It's working. And we're so excited that instead of politics, we're gonna start with sci-fi. We're
yep.
talking Star Wars, baby. We're talking Andor, and it's just we just got done with the third arc. Andor is, I mean, if you're watching this, you already know. But if you just happen to be, a fan of Ahmed Baba and you realize like, oh my gosh, I love Star Wars too. Andor is maybe is Andor Star Wars for grown-ups?
Andor is Star Wars made by the people who grew up on it and are smart. Andor's is Star Wars for smart people.
Okay, all right.
It's like, and the other. I'm not saying the other Star Wars for dumb people. It's just it's a matured. It's like the writers' room of the '90s best Star Trek you've ever seen. Got
Yeah,
a hold of this with anti-fascist sentiments and just
right.
wrote some of the best television of all time. Frankly,
So okay, so it's got less like lightsabers in it and stuff, less like
yeah.
force magic. So it's more grounded. You get to see you get to see like a corporate environment in the Star Wars universe. You get to see like apartments and that kind of thing. You get to see like real life people. It's more grounded. There's politics in it, like behind the scenes politics. I would say an up leveled version from what you see from like like Revenge of the Sith and all that. So like this is for grown ups. It is a more it's slower. It's the writing and the dialogue and the character building is a lot more advanced, and so it's not got as much like whiz bang fights. But the fight scenes are also the action is actually pretty compelling too.
Yeah, and it shows like the banality of the empire. Like there's bureaucrats that were
Mm-hmm.
in the empire working. There's careerists. Like there's people where it's not just like everyone just like a raging evil person. Like there's people in there trying to advance their personal careers. So there's like you're seeing it's a realistic view of how the empire operates. It shows how they consolidated power over time.
Yeah.
It also shows the moral compromises the rebellion has to make, and like and how you can actually basically how Palpatine was using the Senate and still operating. The Emperor
Oh
was still
yeah.
operating within like procedures and like trying to like it just blows your mind because it really walks you through how republics fall, and how revolutions start, and it pulls on so many historical parallels. It's just another level of television. So if you're not a Star Wars fan, you could watch this, and it's a
Yeah.
crazy political drama.
Yeah, I would I think that's a really good thing. You could watch this and get just really good TV. So don't feel like you have to know the backstory of all this stuff to I mean you get more if you understand the backstory, but it's just good television and this arc itself is some of the best TV that I've seen in modern times. So Andor is the lead up to the destruction of the Death Star. To go into like as I say that you don't need to watch Star Wars.
Yeah,
This is the lead into the destruction of the Death Star, and what it does is it charts the years before, and it takes them into three episode arcs. 3 years before was the first arc, and there were three episodes for that. 2 years before was the next one, and the one we're talking about now is 1 year before, and this is like the rebellion is just coming together. They're getting built. They're starting to bring together a coalition of people, and you've got this catalyzing moment that has been talked about for years, the Gorman massacre, which
yeah,
motivates a senator to go and speak and be the first person to say the emperor is the villain in this, and then she
yeah.
has to flee, and that kick starts the rebellion in a big way. That this is huge. This is a huge piece
It's
of Star Wars history, right?
Yeah, they talk about it in the show Rebels. They talk about it in lore, but like to see it laid out like this, it really, basically this Gorman is this planet. It's like, think of it as like Poland and France
Yep.
combined, right? Like a historical parallel. And then it's like they have this mineral, they have this natural resource that the Empire needs to build the Death
To
Star,
build the
right?
Death Star,
To
yeah.
build the Death Star, right? So, and it just, America does this, empires have done this when they need stuff. So basically, they start spreading propaganda against these Gormans
Yep.
and start trying to justify the atrocity they're going to have to commit to get the minerals. And historical parallels right there. Hitler did that to Poland. He started spreading propaganda, and then Himmler, they planned a false flag operation to try to make it seem like Poland was provoking them. So there's so many historical parallels there. And they're like, these Gormans, they kind of sound French, a little Jewishness to them
So
too.
yeah, a little Italian, a little
Yeah.
yeah. So Tony Gilroy got complete the director and writer got complete autonomy on who these people were because it was just a mention, and so he
Yeah.
decided to make them European. And the language, they developed a new language. It's a
Yeah.
mixture of German and Italian and French. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting because you got like you can hear pieces of the different languages come
I know.
through,
It's
and it's
insane.
and the people, the clothing. If you were to just watch it just for that part, right? If you're somebody who likes travel to Europe, or you've got history there or something, or you study it like that, the like sci-fi version of Europe is really, they nailed it. They nailed it.
Exactly, and it's kind of a wealthier planet. It's one that's
Yep.
well connected. People go there for travel and business, and it's
Yeah,
like
because the Gorman, because of the silk that they have there, just in their
yeah,
planet,
yeah, it's
they make
exactly
textiles that are unique, and so everybody wants a Gorman made, suit or whatever.
exactly. But the Empire sees them as a thing they need to get access to. So it just shows like how they're justifying this, and then basically what ends up happening is this culmination event where there's rebellions within there starting to brew. There's like protest movements. There's pro Gorman
Yeah.
societies there, and then obviously Andor and some of the other rebel groups try to come in there and cultivate that rebellion. But basically, it culminates in this moment here where there's this absolute massacre, and before it, you see they're being peaceful, and then you see these news reporters lying, these propagandists saying like, "Oh, it's an insurrection. There's violence," right? And that it just echoes everything that's we see
Yeah,
in modern day,
you
right?
control the narrative, right? You control the narrative, and we won't get into so much of the plot here, but what happens is that the Empire needs to take over this planet forcefully. They need to mine, and so they come up with this plan that they are going to oppress the people, and then encourage some sort of like pushback from local people. They send people in there to stir it up and make it more violent, and then they use the media to paint these crowds of just regular citizens as an insurrection. They call them an insurrection, and this is
Exactly.
where you start to you get, well, in this next part we're going to talk about, where this false flag piece, like it's got Russia written all over it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
It's
they
got Russia written all over it. It's got historical parallels.
Yeah, so but modern ones, where so they've got
Yeah,
these like crowds of people that are chanting, and you see the stormtroopers there in the top, and there's this guy here waving the flag, and they purposefully march these like rookies to the middle, into the most volatile zone in the middle, and then they have a sniper,
yeah,
their own sniper, kill one of these like rookie soldiers, and that gets them to start. There's the sniper right there, and that gets them to start, the soldiers, the rookie soldiers, to start shooting into the crowd, and then it's game over after
yeah.
that.
And then there's a massacre, and Andor, the main character, is there on planet because he was there to try to seek revenge on someone in the previous season. We won't get all those details, but one thing I do want to talk about, just for those who did see it, like also, I don't know, spoiler alert, maybe at the beginning of this, but honestly, like
Oh yeah,
Cyril,
this entire thing is a spoiler.
yeah,
Okay.
this entire thing is a spoiler. We probably should have said it at the beginning. If you want to watch it, this whole thing is a spoiler. But basically, I'm trying to get to this like I see it. Cyril, this character has one of the craziest arcs. Basically, he has been looking for Andor for years. He sees this guy as a focal point of his evolution as a character, and like what made him. He's just basically this Empire cog that has been trying to rise, and he's kind of like a prime incel kind of guy, loser, no self-esteem, and then he falls for this Imperial officer, and she basically manipulates him into helping stir this stuff up. And then in the end, he sees this happening, and he freaks out on her, of course, earlier on in the episode. But basically, the thing is, he realizes that he was a cog in this the whole time.
Yeah.
And everything he was fighting for just didn't matter. And he goes and he's looking for Andor, and Andor eventually fights him, and Andor didn't know who he was. So in that moment, he realizes that nothing has mattered, and that he has just been a cog in this broader machine that he didn't even fully understand the evil of.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he dies.
Yeah, because he's searching for the first season. He's this guy looking for the hero. Andor's the hero, and he's this guy who's been searching for the hero, and he's always like he's this overzealous Empire cog, like you're saying. And I love that they couch him as like he's living with his mom.
Yeah.
He's she's nagging him about his career. He's not performing up to expectations. He's he gets his shot and he like overshoots it, right? He's overzealous, and Andor just like clowns him in the first season. And then he kind of goes off. He gets the girl. He makes a life of himself. He finally gets to be adopted into the upper echelons of the Empire, and then he sees Andor at this like most pivotal moment here, and the same time that he realizes that he's been used. There he is. And the same time he realizes that he's been used, that's when he sees Andor, and all of his like life frustrations just like come into focus, and he can direct his frustration towards this target that has nothing to do. It has nothing to do. Andor has nothing to do with of course with in his mind with him being tricked by his own side with the Gorman, anything. All he knows is like, this is something I can take action on, like take my life back.
Yeah, it's the one thing he has certainty of, is that he thought Andor needed justice for something that happened in season 1 where Andor killed 2, Imperial officers that were messing with him. And that's the one thing he has certainty of. And then he sees him and he's just like, kind of blames him for where he is. Yeah. But also is like, this is the only thing that I have control over right now, like you said. And it's just a crazy, you said you wish that he maybe lived beyond this point to kind of have a broader arc.
I love that what you said about like, this is the parallel to now where people, instead of focusing on like the issue that's right in front of them, like the cause of their problems, or like the actual villain who is like, messing with their cost of living and their opportunities, they're distracted by something else. He sees this new thing to focus on and like direct all his attention to, but this isn't the reason why he's been fooled and used, and why people he likes are now going to be victimized and all that. Like he's distracted, and that's just like a typical, Trump MAGA voter. It's like you're focusing on the wrong thing, man. You're being directed towards what's an easy target.
And also a lot of what happens to, like, he's an example of a lot of what happens to people within MAGA world, within Trump's circle. They end up when it's too late, they realize they've been used and it's over for them. Yeah. And most of them, a lot of them try to make the right choice. You have like a Michael Cohen. Yeah. As flawed as he is, the people who leave and then become never Trumpers,
Scaramucci.
But then there's others, Scaramucci, but then there's others who go in there and it's too late. And then those people went to jail. Unfortunately, it ends with Trump coming back and pardoning them. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Exactly.
But the thing is, like,
we cloned the Emperor. Ta-da! We got to fight again.
But it just showed the thanklessness of existing in an empire system like this. They don't care. They view all these people as pawns, and when your usefulness is done, you're out. And that's what he realized in that moment. He sees these people that he has for years.
So this is the part. This is like major spoilers, obviously. But he's in the fight. He picks up the gun. He's gonna shoot Andor. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and then Andor says, "I don't even know who you are." Okay. Right there, he says,
Amber
"I don't
says,
even
"Who
know
are
who you
you?"
are."
He says, "Who are you?"
Yeah. And he lowers the gun. And that moment, and then he gets shot. That moment, Cyril could become somebody else. Okay, that's the moment where, and like just like Trump voters, where they're like, "Oh shit, I've been fooled. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I against these people? Why am I like what are and all at once? Not their entire lives flash before them, but all their recent political decisions start swirling around their head, and they're going, what am I doing?
It's just
Why am I on this side?
this
And that's
enemy
why I
in
was
his
mad
head.
that he
Yeah.
got shot, because I'm like, this is the moment where Cyril could become like, what does he become after this? Is he one of the best operatives of the rebellion now? Is he, because he knows the inside, and he's been on, and so he can think like an imperial person. Like that is the like that's where we are now, actually, in politics, where it's like, okay, these people are ready to move over now. They're even more useful in some ways than people who have been with us the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's just I think what Tony and the Andor team wanted to do was show he didn't deserve redemption. I think what they tried to show here is like he he discovers it, but it's too late. The damage is done. I think what he discovered is that he basically went through and put all of these people at risk. They're now being massacred, and there's consequences for that action. And I
Right.
think what had happened is before he realized it was too late, and in this moment, with him seeing that the villain he had in his mind for years didn't even know who he was because of all Andor's been through, that made him feel like, oh wow, this is all pointless. And then boom, too late.
Too
And
late.
it
Yeah.
just it just showed the thanklessness of being someone who backs authoritarianism and who creates these fake enemies in your mind. You know,
Yep.
and it was just powerful as hell. It was just so well written. This and also the massacre itself, and just the way they went about it, the way they wrote it, the parallels, the episode itself was so masterful. Just one of the best episodes of TV ever, and it just take you through this emotional roller coaster. You have like this hotel clerk here who sacrifices himself and throws a bomb. Like everyone's like
They're all playing
doing
their
little
role.
acts of rebellion. We
Yeah.
find out he was the first one that said the rebellions are built on hope, which is the Star Wars,
Yeah.
saying that goes on forever. And it just shows all the little acts from these individual people. That is another theme throughout Andor. Is just it's not about one hero, one magician hero with a sword that fights another magician hero, wizard hero, right? Like a
Right.
mythical being, the Jedi. But it's like these individual people, these everyday people, they're the ones that
Yeah.
make these choices that make rebellions happen, that beat back authoritarianism. That's why the show is so powerful.
So speaking of individual people, I want to skip to the next episode real quick. It's basically this is the deep political side of and
Stop sharing while we do the
Ahmed.
commercial there.
Yeah, Ahmed's
Um,
commercials. Ahmed, full disclosure, man, you gotta get your own Disney account. You know what? I'm gonna get you
Subscribe to
that.
my newsletter, Common Power People, so I can finally afford a Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah,
No, it just
if you want to fight the resistance, help Ahmed with the Disney Plus subscription.
no, it's just I'm on a family member's plan and they have ads. So, well, I left the screen, so I have to actually play the ad through. So let me
No,
just
it's
do it on
fine.
the other side.
So the this next episode is the political mechanisms, because this is important too, and this is part of why Star Wars lore is so deep. Is that and it's so funny because I remember watching episode 1, 2, and 3 of the movies when I was younger, and being annoyed by how much politics was in there, where it was
Yeah.
George Lucas that was trying to explain how we got to Star Wars and how the Empire took over. And I was like, where's the sword fighting? Where's the,
Yeah.
where's the force and stuff? And here we are talking to senators and all this shit. And I didn't want to see that.
And then you
But
come to find out that I wish
yeah,
George Lucas had the writing team like this, because
like this.
that's what the prequels needed.
But the
Like an
fact that
Andor,
he
like
decided though, the fact that he decided to add that political element adds depth to the whole universe. Because we could have
of
gone without
course,
exploring any of that, like most other
exactly,
sci-fi shows do. Like they're kind of like people in power made these decisions, and now people are fighting, and that's it.
exactly.
Even Star Trek, to some degree, doesn't delve into the inner workings of the political structures of the planet, not like Star Wars does. Like some of the main characters of the show are senators.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's not been done in other sci-fi.
And I think the thing with Star Trek, sometimes they do it, but I think the key instances is that the broader and the later TNG and Deep Space Nine, especially, they get more into it. But like the they have a more benevolent view of humanity
Sure.
than
Yeah.
than
They're-
Andor, and like
yeah.
Andor's kind of showing like
Yeah.
what's kind of more American right now is kind of just like everyone is moving within their own incentive structures. There are few people who are brave within the system, and like in this side it's the flip. This side, the rebels are the ones, they still have to make moral compromises, but they're the ones that are brave. Where in Star Trek, public service is kind of the ultimate, but
Well,
like
yeah.
that's where all the good people
Star
are,
Trek
right?
is the utopia. Star Trek is like if Trump didn't exist and like changed the timeline, and
there's
we
a
all
lot-
just
yeah,
became
yeah, yeah.
more unified and loved each other more and more multicultural and egalitarian, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't choose that path.
We
we're
chose
not
the
gonna get
Terran
to Star Trek.
timeline. For
Yeah,
the
we're
Star
gonna
Trek
we're
nerds, we're in the Terran timeline.
That's right. We're more Star Wars and less Star Trek. But so this episode is Mon Mothma, she ends up becoming one of the leaders of the rebellion. This shows how she went on that path. And this speech, I feel like I actually want to do a video like on this speech at some point. But the speech she delivers and the behind the scenes, the action part of this is how do we get her out of here as soon as the speech happens, because they're coming to take her to jail, maybe assassinate her or whatever, but they're coming to get her as soon as she says Emperor Palpatine is the bad guy. And that is I mean, you could, I mean, again, my eyes immediately go to Russia, maybe,
Yeah.
North Korea or something like that, where like you speak out against the dear leader and you're done. You are done. And she decides to do it here.
Yeah, she decides to do this after the Gorman massacre, because after that Gorman massacre we just described, the Empire lies and makes it seem like they're the heroes, they're martyrs, and the Gormans were launching an unprovoked attack on them. And she's earlier and before the speech, she hears other senators, galactic senators, talking about that same narrative, and then she comes out here and says there's an assault on truth, and without truth, and it's very resonant to today. It feels like she could have given this speech in the U.S. Congress, but basically she was talking about how objective truth is under assault, and she said the gap between what is said and what is true is now an abyss, and then called it a genocide, which was really
this is a key point here, is that this speech, both the whole like truth piece, which we've been like, this is now, that's talking about now in the media, but the fact that she named it a genocide, because never in Star Wars history has it been called a genocide. It's been called a massacre. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a smallish thing. To name it a genocide is to make a statement on Gaza. That's full on what that is. That is a statement on what's going on in Gaza. That's it. And the people, I mean, the right is probably going to pick up on this. But, what Star Wars, shouldn't be so political. Star Wars started as political. And that's the interview with George Lucas, where he talks about how he modeled the rebellion after the Vietnamese pushing back against America, is like that's starting to surface. I think it's him and James Cameron.
Yeah.
James Cameron's talking to him and asks about like, hey, this is like, did you do this? Why'd you make these creative decisions? And he's like, yeah, I totally
Yeah.
modeled them after the Viet Cong, and it's like, whoa, he's talking about the good guys being modeled after the bad guys. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, exactly. And then that's why I get so frustrated. People act like Star Wars isn't political. Like there's this big account, Star Wars Theory. It's a big fan Star Wars Twitter account that's been really. There's a lot of right leaning tendencies throughout the fandom for some
Oh
weird
yeah,
reason, and they're
and
all
sci-fi
coming.
in general, and like
Yeah, and some of
comic
them are
book.
starting. Yeah, and some of them are starting to hate. So some of them like would like they try to say that there was like an earlier attempted sexual assault that they were trying to say was too far. One of them said Vader wouldn't approve of this. It was unbelievable.
What?
Straight up, the Star Wars
Vader
theory guy said Vader wouldn't
murdered
approve.
kids.
That
He
yeah, Vader murdered
children.
kids, and they genocide. They blew up a whole planet, right? Like, and that's the thing. There is this has always been political. It's always anti-fascist, and
Yep.
you see people on Twitter. There's Republicans trying to claim, like they're like, oh, why would like someone saying like, oh, I wish more liberals were like Mon Mothma to be more brave. But then Republicans are replying, how don't call her a liberal. She's clearly a Republican that's fighting back against like. And I was like, are you like you guys are so it's so hard for you to see you're the villains.
Yeah.
Like you were very clear. Like they use the words undocumented. Like, we'll get into this in a
Yeah.
different video about like the parallels between the Empire and Andor and Trump, Trump's politics. But like it's very clearly not pro attacking immigrants or it's very
No.
anti-fascist, anti-far right.
Right, right, and at this point, I mean, at this point, any pushback against that is just these are talking points. They don't believe what they're saying, and if they do, then they're not credible. They're not credible to debate
Yeah.
because it's so evident, and so many
Yeah.
people who have been on their side have. I mean, Candace Owens is out there talking about Trump attacking free speech. Okay, she's out here defending Harvard. Okay,
Yeah.
the jig is up, guys. Okay, it's over. It's over.
You're the
The
baddies. I'm
debate-
sorry. You're the baddies.
Yeah, debate is based on like these new set of principles because the old ones don't work anymore. But anyways, Star Wars is. I mean, you and I both are Star Wars nerds. This show is one that the last time it was on, I was like, this is amazing. I didn't even watch. I usually watch all Star Wars and Marvel stuff with the family.
Yeah.
I get together and we all sit together and we all watch it. And when they saw Andor, they were like, Dad, you could watch that by yourself. And I'm so glad I
really?
watched it by myself because I was like, yeah, this is some grown ass man shit right here. I'm
Oh,
doing
no,
this by
no, this
myself.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
getting
this
you
is
know
like
a cup of tea or at night or some bourbon. I'm sitting there and I'm just like engrossed in it fully and just feeling all the feels and loving every minute of this show.
it's like hard to find a comparable, like show. I mean, like people were saying it's like West Wing but it's like it's even. Oh, I wouldn't say better, but I don't know. It's just so good. It's just like I don't know how to
Yeah.
explain. It's so dark and so real and so raw, and doesn't uncompromising. Like the fact she used the word genocide here, the fact that they're just making a very clear. They didn't use they didn't say in the earlier we're checking the codex, or they didn't use some like different word to refer to people's visas. They
Right,
said,
right,
they're
right.
here on the planet. The Empire's here
Yeah.
checking visas.
Yeah.
Are you undocumented? Like
Yeah.
very clear
Yep.
political commentary. It is so well written. If you haven't seen it yet, go back, watch season 1. This thing hits hard. Like remember Rogue One? When Rogue One hit, the whole reason why the Resistance was called the Resistance was because of Star Wars dropping before
Yeah.
Trump won. Like with the new Star Wars that was called the Resistance, and then Rogue
100%.
One dropped in 2016 right after Trump won, and that
Yep.
was a huge thing. Everyone started putting up rebellion. People forget about this, but everyone put a bunch of rebellion Twitter photos. Like this is hitting hard on that level. Like it could not have arrived at a better time.
Yeah, and it's just what we needed. I almost feel like they need to they need to extend the series and put out some more. So next was it Tuesday is the last 2 episodes? Is that how it's going?
Yeah. Yes. Last 3, I think.
Last 3. Okay, so we're gonna be doing another one of these about that, and then we're probably gonna go backwards and do some other stuff too because we like talking about this a lot. As you can
Yeah.
tell, we did 30 minutes here.
We did it to 30 minutes talking about Andor. Jesus.
That's good.
But,
I mean, we should have known, man. That's it.
yeah. I mean, it's just too good, guys. You all have to watch it. I don't
Tune
know what
in.
else to say.
Yeah, yeah. Look. Escape this reality and go to that one.
Yeah, go to another fascist. Go to reality where people they know how to fight back against
That's
fascism.
right. That's right. That's right. Go learn. Go learn from sci-fi.